Hello and welcome to this new series I want to start. I want to kind of go over my older game development projects and hopefully can give some tips or ideas to people who are interested in that. So I guess let's go right in. This project of mine is called Daimyo's Conquest. It's a pixel art samurai game. And let's start right with the main menu. Okay, here we are inside the main menu. We have a pretty simple background art and audio systems who just plays music, and then of course the canvas. Let's go right out with a few options like play game, audio settings, credits, and a quit option. So if we look at the background art, you can see here it has an animator and a pretty simple animation. If I just play it, you can see that the flag here is moving in the wind, and it just adds a bit more atmosphere together with the audio, so it's not just static. Then the canvas. It's not a good canvas. UI in general, I would do it differently now, but it does the job, and that's kind of all that it needs. So play button just does what it says. It starts the game, and then we have the options, and clicking that button opens the, I guess it's this one. I'm not too sure. Yes, it opens this one and hides all other buttons. And that's why I said it's not good, because I just hide and unhide all the buttons. It's not an efficient system to do that. Like you see here, it just that's not good. But you can set audio here, and then we also have the credits. Is that the full panel? Let's see. Yeah. Because for this game, I also visited the Hokushin Itoryu dojo in Munich and the Mugaryu dojo in Hamburg for research purposes. So I credit them here and also credit the music that I used in the main menu. So, but that's basically it when it comes to the main menu. Then let's go to the next scene. It would go from, if we click play, we would go to, is it this one? No, it's not. Maybe it's this one. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's the right. We go into this kind of visual novel style scene where we first have a fade in. That's why the canvas here is black. It should have a fade in, but maybe it's not in this one. Yeah. Anyway, we have this kind of visual novel type situation where we are going through dialogue with each click. I'm gonna show you how it will look in the game.
Ha. Ha.
Okay, now that you have seen that, this is also not done in the most optimized way. In fact, if I go to the... Oh, it's this. And here we also have the fade. You can see I have those dialogues and I just go through them in a script. It's here. What I'm doing essentially is just go through them. Let's open it up. It's just if statements, else if, and so on. It's pretty shit. And it's in the update. Like, I would not do that like this anymore. This is terrible. So I just go through the dialogue here with every time I skip the or like input that I've read it. And then we go through this small introduction scene. And after that, we get dropped into the gameplay. We start here with our samurai character. So that's our arrow tracker, and we see we have like arrows down here. And we can switch between the bow and the sword. Let me test it real quick. Okay, like you can see, we have 0 arrows, and now we can pick them up with 3. Now it shows us the controls. This also works with gamepad. If you had a gamepad attached, it would show the gamepad controls. And let's try it. Exactly, you have a % chance that the arrow you shot gets stuck in the ground and you can pick it up again. But this doesn't always happen. Sometimes it breaks, but it's a pretty high... yeah, this one broke. And like you can also see, the animations for each side are different. Let's stop it. The animation for each side are quite different because my character is not symmetrical on both sides. How can I guess I can directly show the sprite sheet. That's the sword facing right, or like our player looks in the right direction and has their sword. And now if we go to the sword facing left, we should see... Is that the idol? Yes, that's the idol. Exactly. The sword is now in front of the player and the arm holds the sword. And I switch weapons. You can see here the sword is behind the player. Here the sword is in front of the player and it gets holden. And the player character holds it with his arm. So each side has a unique animation. And the same goes true for the bow. Like you can see, it's not identical. On this side, the front hand holds the bow handle, and on this side, the front hand holds the string. And this gets more apparent if you pull it like that. Here the player arm is straight, and here the player arm is pulling the string. So it's a different animation for each side. And that I wanted to do that because I don't like when pixel games have an asymmetric character just simply flip. I think that's kind of cheap. But this also meant of having a insane and probably inefficient animation. Yeah, as you can see, this is terrible. This is this is still normal. We start with the bow equipped and facing the right side. And then we have conditions to go to the idle, to switch sides and whatever. So this is still sane. And this is where we get into the chaotic territory. Because we have like a animation for every possible scenario our player could be in. Like he dies facing the left side, or he dies facing the right side, and then he goes into a death idle. And so on. We have that for everything. We have an attack facing the left side and a sheath facing the left side that also needs to be connected to each attack because the player could stop the combo at any moment. And the same we have with jumps and falling and so on and so forth. And the bow has its own animator. Repeat this one. Yeah, where it's also a bit chaotic because we have to account for every scenario where the player is facing the right or the left side, so the animation switches between them. Okay, but now that we have talked a bit about the player, you can also look at the player script. The player has a controller, which is basically just for the inputs and the translation, and has a player movement, which actually moves the player, which like gets all the stuff from the play controller and then sets movement and also sets the animations for the crazy animator we just looked at. And then we also have a few conditions, like if the player is not dead and is not paused, we don't see the cursor. And then if the player is dead or the player is paused, then we do see a cursor, but only if we don't have a controller or a gamepad, but are playing on mouse and keyboard and so on. This is not that efficient, especially because it's again in the update section. I would not do it that way. Like you can do it better if you call the method itself instead of having just a huge update method. This is not ideal. Okay. After that, we can take a look at the world itself. This is a pretty simple world, which is just a tile map, like grid with tile map, and then it's just placed cubes. It's not all that. We also have a few different tile maps here. We have a foreground, a main, and a background tile map, if I'm not mistaken. The foreground is one where we have all this detail that's in front of the player. Then we have this one. This is the normal tile map where the player could walk on. This one is also the one with the collision, because of course with all the grass going on here, I don't want the player to collide with that. I just want him to collide with a flat ground. And let's turn off the colors. And then we have actually not a background map board. Am I wrong? No, we do have a few tile maps which are the background. like this structure, because I have quite a lot. I set them up with a tile map, so I can make a few variations of that. And then we have a few of those white grass, which also are just used to get a little bit of movement and wind animation into the project. Okay, then the player gets through all that, and then here we have another where it switches over to the next level once we reach that. And in between, we have still a few things to talk about, like once we have those archer enemies, we go in here. We have a few with those just control points, and the archer will be on the point that is closest to the player. Like if we appear on this side, the archer will try to move from his standard position to the left patrol point. And once we cross the middle of the structure, the archer will turn around and go to the right control point if we are on anywhere from the middle of the structure to this side, or the left one if we are from the middle to the left side. This means that the archer is basically a really good sniper, and he only is not insta-killing the player because the arrows have quite a bit of travel time and are quite visible, and also have an audio cue. So that's how that works. You can also see the right rectangle here is the box in which the player can be still be hit. Like this should be this. Yeah, this is the box. Like here, I can give him a range, for example, 25. That's just increasing how far he can reach. And then we have this other enemy, which is a bit more complex. He also has control points, but he will not be on a specific point waiting for the player. The melee patrol will just go back and forth between those 2 points endlessly. And once the player is in this outer, let me select it. No, he's there. Yeah. We have hitboxes where the player can be in. One, let me check. Yeah, this one is the player detection. Once the player is in here, the spear enemy will detect the player and follow him and will go into attack mode. Like once the player is in here, the spear enemy will just follow him, and the player can only escape once he goes outside of this detection range. And then we have the attack range, which is the smaller box right here. Once the player reaches that box, he will start to attack. I will just do a little play so that you can see how all that looks in action. Oh. Yep, that's where I messed up. I forgot to... Obviously, it doesn't work without the canvas. So, okay. We have 3 arrows. And that's our checkpoints. We see once we are here and we die, and we revive, we go right back. So here's the spear enemy, and once we are in his detection range, now he has us on his radar. And once we are in the attack range, he will start attacking. Okay, this is quite a bad spot to be. Let's just jump over him. He will just make his patrol. Once he reaches his patrol point, he will turn back and face us again after waiting a few seconds. Let's continue so that we can encounter an archer as well. We can just jump over those real quick. Okay, this here is the archer. And if we somehow manage to get past him, he will turn around. Okay, that's to the enemies talking. And after that, we don't have any more really complex systems going on. We just have a few more levels. Let's take a look at them. Scenes. Nope, I don't want to save that. Let's turn off the canvas again. So this is another level. We have basically reached the first layer of the castle we wanted to infiltrate. And now we also have a different spreadsheet for the tile map for the ground and the level. We have also a few trees with particle systems. Look, yeah, they will like have some pixel leaves falling, which looks pretty cool. And then a few enemies, just everything we've seen before. Here we have a few bridges. We don't actually have to, here we can, no, we can't ignore that because obviously you have those spikes here. So you need to at least go up here and take this jump and run way until we reach the end here. And after that, it switches to the third level. Canvas again. This one is a different tile map again, which is the inside, where we have like a few of those paper walls and wooden walls, still seeing our background room. And then in here we have kind of like the boss battle. We have quite a lot of archers into a pretty small room, and all those archers needed to be defeated to actually get to this guy, because this guy is behind of a barrier. We cannot get to him unless we defeat those archers. And once we do get to him, we have reached the end of the game. We get another visual novel style cutscene. Like this. And then we get the roll credits. So that's basically this entire project in a small overview. I hoped you enjoyed me talk about it and possibly learn something from it. This was my first real game development project, and it's really not that great in terms of programming, but it works. Like, that's, you do not have to be a great programmer to make these kinds of games, because even with the stuff I did, it just works, and that's fine. Yeah, and then you can check out my projects on itch. I will also do videos about my other projects, only my personal projects, not the game jams I did. The next one will be Cyber Strider, and after that I might do a video on Katanakaji, because I kind of considered it a failed project, and I think that will also be quite interesting to learn what went wrong. And okay, then see you next episode.
Ha. Ha.